So I thought I would start doing something that's kind of out of my my thing again, where I'm going out and starting to do stuff and kind of showing people what I'm doing overall. So this is a live little video shot. I'm going to be putting up stuff onto my YouTube channel. I already have in regards to the destructuring of behaviors and the way I perceive what is happening with dogs. So I have put up a couple now. I'm going to be putting up some more, and the other videos that I have put up are on YouTube, and they're going to be of how I'm calming dogs down, literally just by holding them, by giving them a hug. And so a lot of people are going to say silly things like, well, you shouldn't give a dog a hug because, oh my gosh, you're making a scared dog, you're making an angry dog, scared dog, you're coddling them and you're encouraging them to be scared. And so that way the dog then starts to be reactive, etc., consequential to behavior. And that is so incorrect and so inept for the comprehension of that part, because if we look at the structure of how dogs are, so I'm going to start talking technical stuff, right? So here's the thing is, a lot of people always go and say, well, how am I able to downtrain extremely dangerous dogs? Dogs that Ian Dunbar has turned down, that Dr. Rebecca Ledger have said you have to kill them. How am I able to work with these giant dogs that are 150 to 200 pounds, that have been on Prozac and Trazodone for 2 years of their lives, that have dragged people off couches to kill them? Not to bite them, but to literally pull them into the ground to kill them. How am I able to downtrain them without using any medication or treats? So there's Lincoln barking, so watch. Contextual comprehension is what I teach dogs. Cogency. So he's waiting for me to stop talking. You hear the pattern, you can hear the rhythm. Lincoln, stop please. Lincoln, stop barking please. Thank you, Lincoln. Lincoln, stop. Stop, Lincoln, thank you. So you hear that part, and so what's happening there is I'm speaking at his rhythm. So the dogs are processing at 1/10 of a second. That's how fast they're processing, actually quicker than that. It's instinct speed. So I have to match my tone and rhythm and pattern to what he's doing and saying. I also have to watch his body physically on how he's behaving. So psychosomatic expressions of psychological output. So he's got to process what's going on, and what's happening is I get to see that. Non-verbal fluency, body language. It's exactly what we learn to do before we learn to speak and make noise, is to read body language. By being able to communicate, we became lazy, and then we went, well, we don't need to pay attention. That's why we say when we talk to somebody, we want to make eye contact with them. But the very talented people, like the salespeople are making, multi-million-dollar home sales, they're watching everything that you do. It's no different than you watching somebody walk to see if they have a limp. We're paying attention. We are apex predators. So I'm using that part of what I have innately as a predator to observe what's going on with what the dogs are doing. But viscerally speaking, hi Mingki, I'm always acknowledging them. Always acknowledging them. It creates egocentric behavior, creates dependency such as codependency. So I'm going to always jump all around as things happen dynamically. So what happens then is okay, when it comes to the dogs and children, so for that example, they're going to say, well, children and dogs are kind of the same in the mentality and the process structure, blah, blah, blah. Unfortunately, academics, you're wrong. The reason why you're wrong is because you can't downtrain the dogs. Okay, all right, whatever. So what it actually is you're looking at the structure of sophistication in the brain, right? And endothermic life, exothermic, endothermic, generating warm blood. Okay, so you look at the map structure of the brain is going to be similar through all the aspect of the species, right? All the taxonomy, all the species, the genesis, all those variations, they're going to have a basic endothermic biological similarities in map structure. So that map structure of emotive capacity is going to be autonomous, it's going to be abstract. So there's that kind of almost oxymoronic statement there. Like a film. So we think of that abstract, which is the same way we think of something. We see all these images, but there's no formation to it. So the consciousness is what's happening and how the dogs are perceiving things in a diluted scale. So it's kind of like that 1 can of frozen orange juice to 20 cans of water. If you don't know any relation to it, if you don't know the scale, then you basically proceed as you are. But if we're watching it from the human side, we're expecting much more overt behavior. So when we don't assume the overt behavior, we're actually watching for core trait behavior, the nuanced behaviors, how the dog turns and they breathe. Sometimes they hold their breath, they lower their breath, they stop breathing so they can hear what someone else is doing in case of prey or predator behavior. All these conscious behaviors that are happening. So Lincoln is barking again because somebody's walking outside. So he waited for me to, you can hear the pause as you waited because you could hear me talking. So play this back. You can hear the pause. See? He's waiting for me to stop. I stopped talking. He paused. Maybe 7/1/10 of a second. That quick of a pause. You got to hear it. And then you could go, okay, my gosh. And he waited for me to stop. Now I'm ignoring him because I already made eye contact with him. He goes, okay, well, now I'm disinterested because I already was satiated with the need to be acknowledged, ego-driven behavior. It was satiated. So now he goes, okay, cool. I'm going to keep trying to prolong it because of the codependency nature of dogs and that really insecure emotionality of how they're processing rudimentary aspects of logic and emotions. So he goes, okay, all right. Okay, he's not doing it. And then what happens is, because I'm not responding, but I'm still talking and I'm shifting tones and I'm using his name while he's hearing contextually, just like if you hear someone talking about you. So what happens then, hi David. So what happens then, David is 200 pounds. He's the one who was, he's 3 feet 2 inches tall, and he's the one that was on 80 milligrams of trazodone, 750 milligrams of trazodone, 80 milligrams of Prozac for 2 years. He has 16 bites on him from where he came from, bit a child in the face, had to be muzzled, would drag people down the street, and here he is integrated socially with all the dogs, no treats, no medication, no nothing at all, eating raw food amongst each other, walking amongst each other with no issues. And I feed raw. I don't eat meat myself, so I feed raw, no problem at all, because I'm integrating my supervision as a parent. I'm using my predator instinct, and we all have predator instinct. Lord of the Flies, Survivor, we all have that predator instinct. So if we try to deny that, then we will never see the true reality of what our dogs are doing. If you can't admit that you have a natural-born killer inside of you, you're never going to realize what you need to see. So he's barking again. David is bugging him now. David is trying to engage with him and get some attention. So they're now barking off at each other. So I'm going to give them a few seconds. Process time. They can hear me talking. I'm changing the way I'm talking as well. So I'm haltingly talking now. So now they have to pay attention to what I'm doing. And then, thank you. So what happens is that's cogency structure. Contextual structure, the dogs are egocentric. So everything that you've ever learned from any, right, because I started talking again more animated now, everything that you ever learned in academia, everything that you've learned in university is bullshit. I've just proven this. I can integrate all these dogs without a single treat, no medication, because I'm parenting them, I'm watching the behaviors as a predator, watching the nuanced behaviors, the interactive behaviors, and how they go on. So now I'm going to point there. My face is facing this direction, right? It's facing this direction. It's going out the door right here. They can hear me talking. Now they're stopped. Right? So then I stop looking at them. So now, David, stop, please. David, stop, please. Lincoln. So I'm just, hang on a sec. And there's no problem if it doesn't happen right away. David, stop. David, come, please. David, come here. I'm going to change the tone. David, come please. Hi, silly boy. See the tone, it changes the tone a little bit more, so I'm just going to grab him there because he's not coming over. All right, so it's not a big deal. David, stop. Come please. Come on in. Let's go. David. So he thinks he's in trouble, so he stops. And then he's coming up to the door right here. I'm going to turn off. Oh, okay, lock off that. So he came to the door just now. That was like clicking sound that you heard here. So he came in to check to see if he was in trouble. He's not in trouble. So what's happening is that he is bored, right? He's a very high cogency structured dog. He can process things extremely fast, and he has the charisma, the ego-driven charisma, to be able to process what's happening. He was able to be cogent and survive with his personality for 2 years while he was on 80 milligrams of Prozac and 750 milligrams of trazodone. That makes him a much more intelligent dog to be able to survive that type of oppressive pharmaceutical behavior that's been placed on him. So you got to remember, when you put a dog on medication, and that's a PhD or somebody who's inept, you're looking at somebody who has no comprehension of dogs. All these dogs, raw, there's no aspects of medication on them. The raw predatorial nature comes to me because then I can read it. I can destructure the behavior. I can watch the mannerisms that are going on. And the main reason why I can is because I'm not worried about holding a treat and going, okay, I got to catch up to the dog now. Right? If I'm thinking of this subconsciously, physically, I'm holding this. It doesn't matter how loose it is. That's why when you see these silly trainers in Cesar Millan and Victoria Stilwell, you're looking at fools. Complete academic destruction of comprehension. If you're holding a treat in your hand, left or right hand, you've got to remember which hand it is. Now I've got to go and give it to my dog. You have forgotten now. You've created an obstruction, an actual obstruction, an obtuse process in your brain going, before I go do anything and pay attention to my dog, I have to remember what to look for now. How are you going to learn? How are you going to learn what your dog is doing when you're going, well, I'm going to finish your sentence? Right? If you're talking to somebody and they finish your sentence, you get irate because you don't get your idea out. And when they finish it off, it means they don't care about what you're saying. So in other words, you have a disingenuous conversation. So when you're going, okay, I'm going to wait for the dog, I'm going to wait for the dog, I'm going to give them the treat, you can't remember what you're going to do next. You can't pay attention. You can't see the forest because you're trying to hold on to that one little tree in your hand. You know what I mean? You don't see everything. You don't see the context of what's going on. There are so many layered templates that are occurring for the dog because they don't have the cogency or the emotional familiarity of experiencing something. They can't teach each other to do it. They can't go and say, hey, you know what? When you feel sad, I'm going to hug you, make you feel safe. Okay, going back to that child thing and the dog thing, the brain structure, endothermic aspects of basic mapping structure, right? It's a biological compartmentalization of the false positive people. It is the ability for biology to compartmentalize the false positive, the answers that don't equal 1 or 0. That's why artificial intelligence will never achieve artificial intelligence instinct, because they have no mechanical ability to compartmentalize the false positive. There's no way to organically do it because it's mechanical. So that's why your computer hangs sometimes, because it gets that ghost in the machine. With consciousness and with biology, the structure is available right there. Biology adapts always. Nature abhors a vacuum. So then the construct of learned responses, like a snowball, etc., 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 becoming consciousness. So we have the cogency structure, we have memory structure, we have emotive structures, we have cogency structures. How the dog is processing is not dissimilar to human beings, as I said before. It is at scale at 100 100 out of 100, where we're talking about a dog in the scale of 1 can of frozen orange juice to 20 cans of water. The dilution, the aspect of perception. And I'm going to give you a scale on that part too, and I'm going to go all over the place because I haven't done this live before like this. I've always kept my stuff really kind of dumb and not technical. And I mean, it's like, So, and I'll just say, both my brothers I have are IQs over 160, and apparently I scale higher than them. So what I'm talking about is that you look at the mapping structures that are there in the brain. So the animal brain, the human brain. The human brain is at its most sophisticated structure right now, no matter what. No matter what. We are apex predator, the brain right here, we're top of the food chain. And the dog is down here somewhere, of course. But because we are sharing kind of a similar biological and endothermic structure for consciousness and emotive aspects of it, there's going to be a diluted scale. So how dogs are processing emotions compared to how humans process, we're 100 out of 100, and the dogs are 70-ish, 80-ish out of 100, depending on the intelligence and quotient level of cogency. So then we're looking at that scale. So how do we look at that? Not like a set of beer glasses where you fog it out, but again, the diluted aspect. If you didn't know that there was 20 cans of water in this orange juice and someone just gave you a cup to drink, you'd be like, oh, tastes like something, but I'm not sure. Cogency structures. Then how do we build that? Consciousness is the sum of our experiences. What we learn from through our entire lives, the sum of our experiences. When we look at somebody, we think of other people that we have seen because we are artificial intelligence patterning our facial interpretations of what they're doing, memorizing emotive structures, all that kind of stuff. Dogs are doing that too. The way they process their field of vision in a two-dimensional format. It's a rhetorical and redundant aspect of behavior. So see, they're quiet. So what ends up happening is, and if I start changing my tone and voice, they will start getting more animated. So I use a fake voice right now and a higher animation, keeping cognizant aspect of the reverberations within this room or wherever I am standing. Any of my clients will tell you, all of them will tell you, I am always conscious of how I'm speaking so that the sound doesn't vibrate everywhere. Like in a shelter is absolutely horrific torture because the dogs are just like, it's like putting your head in a big aluminum can and just smashing it forever. And they go, why are we killing so many dogs? Right? So the behavior aspects of it. Getting back to the psychology and the brain structure. So you're looking at the fact that one dog has the 20 cans of water, right? So we have 21 cans of water that's orange juice and we kind of see it. They cannot form it without our assistance. For example, the age-old question, do dogs understand death? They do not. In the concept of self-threat, ego-driven behavior, all they fear is the pain of being attacked. The concept of death is only a teachable concept. Abstract-wise, how do we know someone's not moving? Are they asleep? How will I ever know? Oh, someone told me that they died. That's why they're not moving. We learned it. We can't, if we walked up to it as a child, we'd be looking at, okay, the body's, okay, wake up, wake up, wake up. But when an adult says, well, the person died, we go, oh, that makes sense, even as a baby. The concept of diluted perception is the same way, people. So this academia that you're hearing, ask any of them. Dr. Ian Dunbar, Rebecca Ledger, Cesar Millan, and all these people, ask them, take one of James's dogs, don't take any treats or medication, and downtrain them in less than one, look at my videos, in less than one session, because I'm comprehending quotient structures, the template structures that are reflective of consciousness. They're still quiet, because I'm still keeping this tone up. We have to be cognizant of everything that's around us. High processing is not a difficulty to achieve if we start paying attention. If we're holding that treat in our hand, if we're waiting to zap our dog, if we're waiting to pull on the collar, we're waiting to do something as a consequence to what they did, which means we're not paying attention anymore. We don't see what's going on because we're too busy to think to do this, do that, do that. Do you know how hard it is to have a dog like David, whose head is up to here, corner me, and just stand there and watch? And the stiffness, and you watch, because of course I'm being careful. You know, I can see the stiffness in his body, his breathing pattern when he holds his breath. If I move, he moves. It is literally like being stalked. And he knows the perimeter of this home, so there's no way I can escape. That is cogency, because he has a superiority. In other words, he understands the interpersonal relationship between him and I, ego-driven behavior. The Templeton University people, Temple Grandin, they have no idea what the heck they're talking about. The cows, all these, she has no idea what she's talking about. That's what happens. They have to understand the cogency. We have to teach them. We have to teach our dogs that when you're scared, I'm going to hold you. I'm going to make you feel safe. Because here's the concept that's missing everybody, okay? And I'm going to have to get some water. Here's the concept that is just the foolish people and all these academics. When I'll tell you one thing before I go on to that. The academics don't care for you to disrupt their ivory tower. Because again, if you're the best at what you do, and then someone who doesn't have an education says, no, you're actually wrong. Say goodbye to the Gucci high heels. It's gone. The Emperor's clothes. It's gone. All this stuff I'm teaching people, and I'm going to put these videos up where you're going to see David attempting to attack Mingki. And I hold him, and I'm holding him, and then I calm him down with just literally a hug. And then they are peaceful after that. Within 20 minutes, they're just hanging out. Actually, 13 minutes, they're hanging out with each other. No treats or medication. And what ends up happening is, because I'm structuring on their behavior, watching this, the physiological aspects. But what I'm teaching them is that guidance. I'm teaching them the concept of death. Okay, so get that in your head. I'm teaching them the concept of consequences, of behavior. And when I hold them and tell them that they're okay, then they know they're safe. If you were to go and get in trouble, are you going to call your parent who's going to say, blah, 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 or are you going to call the parent who goes, you know what, it's okay, I'm really disappointed in you. And what do you remember for the rest of your life? Not this, you remember that, yeah, I'm really disappointed in you. Here's the structure. This is what's really crazy wrong with these people, okay? And please share my work. Please share my work. I've been kicked out of all these dog groups. I've been kicked out of all these dog training groups. I've been kicked out of all these groups. Every time I talk about this stuff, you still see it. Quiet as heck. People are driving by. They're quiet because they can hear the tone is a different aspect because I create deliberately, right? In reverberation, etc. I'm always listening through on both the ears, and then I maintain it and I shift it again so that they're following what I'm doing in case there's an anxiety-driven issue. If I change my tone of voice, then they change their tone of behavior. Collectively, individually, relatively speaking, because it's ego-driven, Templeton University fools. It's ego-driven. Look at that concept of it. You cannot try to, they've got this contest, and I'm going to get to that thing there. They've got that contest that says, hey, we're going to try to discover consciousness. Well, I've explained to you guys, biological compartmentalization of the false positive. And then we look at that structure in an abstract, autonomous, like a film concept, snowball. Right? We know it. It's intuition. So that's their contest, is they're trying to discover and say, well, consciousness, well, there it goes, man. Ghost in the machine. They're doing $1 million prize, so I should get that $1 million. I'll donate back to my charities. But the aspect is, they're trying to figure out how consciousness became created in humans. They're missing the obtuse. They're so obtuse. Again, diluted scale. Endothermic commonality means that there's a resident compartmentalization. Someone's out there, right? So he's going to go off a little bit. So it's that compartmentalization. Mingki's running out there as well. Mingki. Right, so Mingki's kind of a predatory dog as well. So they're going to bark a little bit. David's looking at me right now. David, Lincoln. David, Lincoln. So I talk to Lincoln, so then David comes in. Lincoln, David, thank you. Thank you. Stop barking, please. Thank you. Good boy. Thank you, Lincoln. Thank you, David. Right, the tone. We bring that up. When we bring the tone up, then we bring up pray and play drive as well. We elicit that as we work that, so then we create context for what he just learned now. Because this experience now barking and the experience 3 minutes ago of barking, two different circumstances. When we conflate, we create experience, consciousness, emotion, the sum of our parts, the ghost in the machine. That's why, again, I can figure out behavior, destructuring it, because I'm not holding things up. I'm not waiting to press the next button. And I'm not in my fear of being attacked getting in the way either. I've been literally picked up. I'm 190 pounds, and I'm 5'11". I've been literally cornered and picked up by a Great Dane by the arm. I was wearing a whole bunch of clothing. It was wintertime, and it was actually Walter Tonka. He's the one that dragged that shelter worker into his kennel to kill her, and so to try to kill her. And he actually picked me up and grabbed me, picked me up and shook me against the wall, and he still was able to lacerate my skin underneath it. That's how powerful these dogs are. Anyways, okay, getting back to the thing. I'm just going to say, so your dogs are looking at us in the emotional structure of children versus animals, right? So the scientists are saying children and animals kind of the same. So now I'm saying, no, you can't compare oranges to apples. No offense. You can't. If you compare oranges to apples, you might as well say, hey, can you give me wrong GPS directions, please? You've got to look at the point of where your dog is at in comprehension. The structure of the brain is not there. It's not, and Temple Grandin is wrong about autistic, right? Dogs having an autistic type of brain structure. There's a superiority of the human brain at its evolutional sophistication right now today. Where's that? See, I'm changing the tone again, right? To get the intention from that as well. I'm still conscious when I'm talking to you guys what's going on, because I'm not saying their names. And if I do say, watch this, okay, I'll walk through like that. So I'm doing the tone again. Peak, 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 peak now. I'm bringing it up because they're going to get bored, bored, bored. So we work that tone because I can hear them as they're moving around kind of restlessly. So I've got to make adjustments. Like the kid with the crayons in the other room. What are you doing, honey? And I'm always going to do it in chronological seniority. So the brain's going to be the same, right? I'm sorry, I'm just going to flow off. the brain is going to be similar aspects. It's just the capacity for the emotional processing is what's going to be the difference. So we look at that structure, and by talking to them and giving the experience that they're okay each time, by encouraging them to come to me when they're scared, right? Because which would you rather do? That your dog who's dangerous come to you when they're scared, or go run off and attack the other dog? Again, these alpha people are extremely insecure, extremely insecure. None of these dogs they could ever touch. All these dogs are literally turned down by the top people in North America. In Dunbar, turned down Tonka, Walter. Everybody. And I see the photos of what they've done to human beings, and they're horrific. And I go, all right, send them over. No treats or medication, please. I want them in the raw predatorial format, because I'm processing the aspect of their behavior obviously quite quickly, but I see the structure, the sentient structures, that template each time as they fall through their experiences. Again, conflation, some of our experiences. So again, if our dog is afraid, what are they going to feel if we tell them, screw off? Have you ever relied on somebody who trusted, that you trusted with your life, and that one time that you asked them to help you save your life, save you from ultimate threat, and they went, bye-bye, go deal with it yourself? That's what your dog feels like. They're unable to process self-regulation. The core emotions occur when they can't do anything else, just like us. We know people who freak out. I freely talk about the fact that I'm a pretty big introvert. So what ends up happening is, if I go somewhere, I'm going to stay in the corner. Or I'm going to find the person who invited me and stick with them for that, and then I'm going to get kind of like, and I'm going to leave. I don't know how to process it, not because of any other reason, because I choose not to, but it's just that part. I can make it. I can make the premeditative. I can make the fantastical conclusions of what would happen if I stayed or left. Our dogs don't have the capacity, because they don't have the ability to triangulate from their experiences in life. They cannot understand this situation if they haven't had previous considerations. And how do they process it if they're angry, if they're scared? When we bring them together and we give them the hug and we keep the hands still, there's a reset hug that I do. All my clients know this. I do that with my dogs. I do it with Sammy, who's in the wheelchair. She's this tall, and I do my Great Danes. I have teenage girls laughing at me, right? I'm like, I don't care, because it's about my dogs. So we do all these aspects here. Getting back to that part, I'm just going to finish off, is that the child brain and blah, 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 and all that stuff. Our dog is looking at us to protect them. Absolutely 100%. If that wasn't the case, they wouldn't even be listening. I'm not screaming at them. I don't have to bring it up to that level. If I do, I just raise the volume of my voice, not the tone of my voice. They're fine. I just heard a little kid screaming, and which always sets off some dogs. They're fine. And if you watch and listen to my tone again, my animation is shifted downward again to bring them down, because I'm following their pattern. So replay the whole thing. You'll see me flow it through. Subconsciously, no. It's because I'm always paying attention to them like the predator. Getting back to your child and your dog, is the fact that your child and your dog are almost the same in that dependency on you. And it's not codependency only, it's a highly contextualized interdependency. Intradependency. It's a highly contextualized interdependency, because just like the Stockholm syndrome, and that's why alpha is very dangerous. It's very, very, hitting your head against a wall, dangerous. It's the Stockholm syndrome that we have all our dogs in, right? Peter would love to hear this, but truly, we have our dogs in a Stockholm syndrome. They rely on us for everything. For food, for warmth, for love, for medical care, for cuddles, for a blanket, for everything, all the beautiful comforts in our lives, they get as well. And then the one time they see a dog that's going to kill them in their minds, and they look to us, who's about 500 feet tall, 500 feet tall, and the 500-foot person that says to us that you're going to protect me all the time, they went, nah, go ahead and do it yourself. Yeah. The time you need me the most, I'm going to abandon you the first time. That's why they do this. See, the tone is different again. Rhythm is matching. I don't care what I say to you guys. I care what they hear me. Because dogs are nonverbal 98% of the time. You aggregate everything they say, bark and whine all day, it's less than 2 minutes in the entire day, notwithstanding sleep. Right? Less than 2 minutes. It's like 45 seconds. You hear this? I've got 5 dogs here. They're all extremely dangerous dogs, except for Sammy. They're all extremely dangerous. Meat dog, the dogs no one can deal with. Worst dog out of over 20,000 dogs is Mingki. Watch my YouTube videos, you'll see that. So they're all peaceful. I can hear them chewing bones. That's that crack sound you can hear in the back. The bones are free range there. I just put them out this morning and they're, leisurely doing it. They're walking past each other. If they get upset, I step in. All right, so that part, like a parent, something happens, I step in. When your dog is looking at you, so there's a person out there. So when your dog, thank you, Lincoln. Thank you, David. William. Right, I'm going to make directional voice to wherever I'm talking, because then they can hear what I'm doing. And if you hear I'm talking, now I'm digging in the tone a bit more at the bottom on purpose to catch them in a different context of comprehension. You look at my TikTok videos and you'll see there's a couple there. One that is about teaching Anthony the objectification of the phrase can of tuna. And I taught him in 20 to 22 minutes, on how to identify what a can of tuna is. And it's a blue can of tuna, and he is actually looking at it. You can see some flicker of aspect of cogency, structured happening of the correlation of objectification and concept. And then what happens is I say it again to him by judging his behavior, body behavior, like when we watch somebody, how we manipulate them or finish their sentences. So then I watch him for that part, and he looks back in self-doubt, like that. And that is a psychological expression that all humans have, right? When we look around like that, right? Left side here, we're more nervous, right? Endothermic biology of the brain is all the same. Do you see what I mean now? Diluted scale of comprehension. These eggheads are just smartly dumb. So then what happens is he looks back there, in that same biology again, he looks back there, and then the next part of it, and it's within 60 seconds, he sits up and he looks down at the can of tuna with a cogency similar to what primates do in comprehension studies. That's how profound it is. Hi, Sue. I'm going to put that up for you, Sue. I'm going to put up for you. It was kind of hard for me. I almost started crying about it actually this morning. So I'm going to try to get to it, and I'm going to set up the other part as well, and then but yeah. Sue and her husband, Don. Don has dementia, and I know Sue's already said I can talk about this. So her husband has dementia and is really quite difficult right now for her, and so I'm gonna set up a fundraiser for her and all that. So I'm just trying to write. It's very hard to write stuff like this for me. So he's barking out there, right? Because I changed the tone. I got real. So he hears, oh, okay, now I want attention. Right. Okay, David. Stop, please. Rhythm. Stop, please. David, stop barking. Thank you. David, stop barking. David, see? David, stop barking. I can't see him. David, stop barking. So there's somebody, oh, there's a car down there. So, David, thank you. He's going to start barking again. Reassurance. See? You hear that just now? David, you're okay. You're okay, David. Thank you. Good boy, David. Right? So then he comes over to make sure he's okay. Mingki, stop it. So now Mingki's stalking him because now Mingki is envious of the attention. Right? Interpersonal relationships, right? It's all happening, just like humans, like little children. If you don't watch this one, the other one gets into a fight. Diluted scale of perception, scalable, trackable, quantifiable consciousness. If I didn't believe it, if I didn't understand the biology of consciousness, I would literally be dead. All my videos prove it. I'm looking at Loki, the Shiba Inu, and literally predicting his behavior, that he'll turn his head forwards and backwards, and I explain why before it happens. And he does it literally. It's in live video 4 years ago. David, thank you. So your dog is looking at you like, oh my gosh, you do everything for me. You take care of me. You put me to bed. You protect me. You hug me. You pick me up. You do everything. And now you're telling me, don't trust me. Don't trust me. Get away from me. I know you needed me in your most dire time of, right? Because why is your dog going to get upset and angry and all that? Because they're threatened. They feel like they're going to die. You're not going to get upset unless you think you're going to die. So there's a different structure here now. So I talk about structures, templates of behavior. Then if we put that into the categorization, then it's easier for you guys to remember in a lineal structure. And then as you start layering in those lineal structures of comprehension, then you start being a bit more cogent of your dog, and your own processing as well will be greatly improved. Because, you know, if you're thinking like me, for example, then you can start seeing things differently. So he's getting a little bit more aspect because he's getting heightened. David! Okay, there's somebody walking down with their dog. David, stop! David! 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 I can't see him. David! Thank you. Stop barking. See, you hear that? David! So now I'm throwing my own eyebrows. David! Stop, please. Thank you. I'm kind of exaggerating this. Stop, please. Thank you, David. Thank you, David. Good boy. Then I bring it down, right? So then we close the loop of comprehension of consciousness of learning. Because you don't learn something unless you have an ability to finish that loop, to close it off. When you go and ask a waiter to give you a glass of water, they go and get the glass of water, blah, blah, blah. They bring the glass of water back to you. What do you say? Correct. You say thank you. Why do you say it? You don't have to. You're paying them. Bugger off. You're rude to me. I'm not going to say thank you. But you still say it. Why? Now, for as a politeness aspect, if you look at the core predatory behavior, it is the completion of a request. You finalize the consciousness, the construct of thinking by finalizing the request. I asked you to do something. I'm acknowledging it for you. And you finish that loop. It's completion. If you send a text to somebody, I'm animating on purpose. If you send a text to somebody and they don't respond back to you right away, you're like, well, what's the answer? When you feel okay after you receive it, then you're like, oh, shit, blah, 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 and you exhaust all that psychological behavior, like, oh my gosh, I wish you would have just responded sooner. How does a dog express these things? Physiologically, right? All these nuances, behaviors. Anyhow, so he stopped there, right? Because I've changed the tone of my voice again as well. You can hear how I'm rhythmically bringing up intonations, all that aspect. I'll stretch the words out. I'll keep them contiguous. All these parts. So it's always a free flow. It's not the aspect of comprehension. It's the aspect of tonal construction. So then the dog understands my context. So when I have a baseline, I can inflect and increase his context of comprehension of what I say. So that's why Anthony can understand can of tuna, objectification. And you might say, oh, James, you're so brilliant. You can do this and all that stuff. Everyone can do it because you teach your dog to go to their bed. You teach your dog to pick up their stick. You can teach your dog a can of tuna. And that's something, oh my gosh, you're right? It's color, it's objectification. It's understanding what the object looks like. All these things are happening when we maintain a context of comprehension that our dogs have a sentience and a consciousness. So live, right here, I literally prove. Talk to them. Connect to your dog. They are nonverbal 98% of the time. Every word you say must mean something. I bring it down. Everything you say must mean something. It cannot be disingenuous. It cannot be extraneous. It cannot be anything. I'm now starting to pull a little bit more air out from the bottom on purpose to drag them into it. So then they have a curiosity of why I'm talking like this, context, and they learn again. See? He heard it. David. David. Thank you, David. Hi, William. William comes in. Hi, David. David, stop, please. Thank you, David. So he's back there. David. Right? Because we know the rhythm. Right? David. Like that. We know the rhythm. Thank you, David. Thank you. So now, again, completion of the loop. Consciousness of learning. Creating that construct. You do not learn unless there's a finality to something. That's why dogs not learn death, because there's no finality to them in the ability to comprehend. This is what I'm talking about. This stuff is so simple. It's very straightforward. Okay, so it's the stuff that I've learned. Obviously, I've gone through a lot of extremely difficult situations. And you can, Google the stuff and blah, blah, blah on the media and all that stuff of what I've done. But the reality is we can all do this. Your parental aspects of behavior is very easy for you to do that if you start paying attention. So what I always tell all my clients and people who, whatever, I always say to them, watch your dog before you say their name. So you're going to say their name. Just watch them. So you study them and then you say their name. That means you're actually paying attention to what they're doing when you say their name. What you're actually doing is you're quantifying sentience. That's how obtuse it is to the scientists. What? We can't figure out consciousness? You watch your dog. Okay, I'm going to say their name. I'm going to make up a fake name so that they know their names contextually. You say, I'm going to watch them. They're not doing anything. Zevia. And then Zevia perks. I'm like, okay, great. So now she knows, I can tell when she knows her name. If she hears that tone and she perks her ears a little bit. Okay, that's sentience. That's behavior. That's consciousness. We aggregate it all and we have consciousness behavior. So that's what we do. Then the next time you do it, Zevia, you're paying attention to what she's doing. Go, okay, last time I talked to her and she was on the couch over here. This time I'm talking to her and she's on the floor. Then we conflate her behavior here because she might be uncomfortable where she's laying on a hard floor. So she's like, okay, yeah, what do you want? And she'll look up at you because she doesn't want to be on the floor because she's now trying to say to you, I want to be up there because it's uncomfortable down here. But you go, wait a minute, that's a little bit too much to conclude to, right? Conclude to. Well, wait a minute. Well, why would she look at me when she's laying on the floor, but she won't look at me when she's up on the couch? We start extrapolating and interpolation as well. So we start extrapolating the aspects and we start fantastically creating construct of behaviors. And then when the behaviors are matching our template of construct, boom, 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 fits in like a puzzle piece. And now you've comprehended a template of their behavior. Why is she on the ground? Why is she up here? Boom, psychology, behaviorism right there. The evolution of psychology and the consciousness of behavior is constructed evolutionally. It's diluted. So Cro-Magnon, troglodyte, Neanderthal, we're going to have a structure of brain comprehension and sophistication relative to that era. So what we're here at, like for example, at 100 out of 100 in cogency and consciousness, 400 years ago in the 1700s when a lot of people were dying, Middle Ages, etc., all that kind of stuff back then, 500-600 years ago, we were maybe at an 85 where we are now. We've always got to push up the visceral aspect. We always got to look at the passion, the community structure. We always have to take care of ourselves. I couldn't do this if I didn't. I have had people, I've worked with people who are like literally executives on an electric car company that's on NASDAQ, that is a direct competitor of Tesla. I've worked with very well-known people, and they've all said, holy cow, wow. Right? And it's not, and it's like, well, it's so simple. I am literally showing you guys how easy it is. Because I'm not worrying about, okay, when I'm going to give them the treat. Okay, where did I put it? Oh, yeah, right. What are you going to do when you're on the road and you don't have treats? Right? We want our dogs to understand that they're always safe, that they're always protected, that we're never going to abandon them. And if we do, we're going to bring them back and apologize in the sense of just giving them a regular hug. I call it a reset hug, like say I'll talk about it some other time, or you'll see it on my YouTube channel. I'll probably upload it tonight or tomorrow. I'm just like lots of hours it out there, and that's happening. I also want to say, actually, some of you guys, I'm going to get some water here. Some of you guys know about Anthony Leonard, about that scam artist who was supposed to help promote my work and everything. So he knew that all the stuff that I was working with, right? He's that total scam art. So, and he's like fundraising anyways. But anyhow, long story short, really nice thing is I actually just started to get in touch with somebody else who is who is established, and he's helping giving me some advice and stuff like that. Now, I mean, end of the day, this stuff that I'm doing is really quite simple and straightforward. I'm going to teach and share what I'm doing live. So you're going to get like, I don't know, what, a lesson or, course education. You're going to get university grade level education. Because again, here's the thing is, so both my brothers have IQs over 160. And when I graded in, because I was beating my oldest brother who was in his mid-20s doing double minors in math, I was beating him occasionally at the age of 11 at chess. And I know I've scaled on those silly little tests and all those little, $15,000 test. I know I've scaled probably over 200. So it's not an arrogant statement. It's just that I understand what's going on, and I'm doing that with dogs. So the fortunate aspect is I'm able to apply this just, drop out of high school, literally kind of guy, and not have to be structured. So then what I am doing is working with dogs. Everything I've learned is self-taught. So all this language that I'm talking about, people go, oh, he's always talking big words because he thinks it's self-taught. English was not my first language. I was born in Victoria. English was not my first language because we spoke Chinese. I remember the racism. I had someone spit in my ear on my second day in school. So I know what it's like. I didn't find that school was that great, right? But so I'm now doing this kind of stuff, and I went, wow, working with dogs. Why are we doing this other stuff? Because it made no sense. Why are we waiting and bridging and Lima and R plus and plus 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 and luring the dog and all that stuff? Why don't we just talk to them? Why don't we treat them like children that we're never going to be able to do anything else? So then what do? We create a certain key phrasing language. Familial, contextual, constructive conversation. The same words we use with children. It's that easy. You don't have to try. You don't talk in a high-pitched voice. You don't talk blah, blah, blah. You talk in a regular tone of voice, so that way they learn to listen to you and hear what you're saying and learn cogency and be paying attention and maybe be a smarter, emotionally intelligent dog, because then you're talking normally, blah, blah, blah. So I'm a higher pitch one. Again, my higher pitch is almost what I was like when I first started this on purpose. So we do this full circle here at all time, finishing the loop. We don't look at the small little picture, we look at that. We look at the extrapolation beyond the whole aspect of behaviorism itself, so to speak. And we go down into the interpolation, I guess, of evolution down to that biological structure as I talked about. We look at that part of teaching them cogency, right? That's so important. Because there's no way that your dog cannot have the same emotional structure as we do. They can experience emotions such as jealousy, which is an extremely complex emotion. Competition, insecurity, insecurity, abandonment issues, codependency, interdependency, self-esteem issues. Doesn't stop, does it? It's there. They're all here. They're quiet. They're still down there. They're quiet because I went and said, okay, I heard you. And what else I said is, you're okay. Those tones and those words are what are establishments for our dogs to go, wow, this is really incredible. You're actually helping me. You're actually listening to me. Because before I was beaten, I was hit, I was punched, I was yelled at, I was put into seclusion, blah, 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 blah. And you're the first human being that's not doing that. And what's going to happen with a dangerous dog is it's an unfamiliar circumstance of emotions. And then they will attack me. And then I'm like, oh, holy cow. And I have to pretend that I'm okay. I've had them come right at me above me because they're Danes, because I've suddenly fallen by accident on the ground. And they're right at me. And I have to be like, holy cow. And I've got to use that fake, you're okay. And I'm palpable. There's a coyotes now. See, coyotes are here. Right? So when I have this, so we let them sow their wild oats. Now they're listening for my tone. See how I'm talking? They're listening for my tone now. Right? I'm doing halting tones. When I stop, they'll start barking. When I talk, so now they're back on. Okay, hang on a second here. So we're going to let them sow their wild oats for a few seconds, right? I'm going to let them bark because they're doing their job, right? So I'll have some little bit of water. Coyotes are all over the place. Okay. So, coyotes. Let me take this off here. Let me show you. How's that? Okay, guys, let me show you this. Okay. Hello, Mingki. Okay. So I'm going to flip this. I don't know if I can flip this around. Can I flip this around? Okay. Oh, here we go. Okay. Okay, there we go. Hello, David. All right, so here's David. See how he's nervous and scared? And there's Lincoln with the hackles up. See, David is nervous, so hang on a sec. Stop, please. Okay, let me actually, you know what? Let me do this. Okay, let me do this, guys. Okay, so I'm going to put this up here. I don't know. David, stop. Okay. You can see this now, right? David, seriously. David. Oh, okay. Sorry. David. Lincoln. Okay, so I'm just gonna let him bark a little bit because I can't focus on him, right? Okay. Look at my angle. Okay, Lincoln, stop. Stop, Lincoln. Wow. Stop, Lincoln. Thank you, Lincoln. Mingki, no, right? So we see the idea. Lincoln, come here. Okay, so you see how physical he is? Okay, you're okay. So I'm gonna give Lincoln the thing. You're okay. Watch out for Mingki. So Minki's behind to the side. Mingki. You see the tongue behavior on Mingki? Mingki. Stop, please. Mingki, no. Right, so I'm just holding. Right, so Mingki wants to have. Okay, so I'm gonna hold him back here. You're okay, Mingki. Right, so he's about 200 pounds. Right? Mingki, stop. Stop, Mingki. So I'm gonna give him a hug. Stop, Mingki. Mingki, stop. Minki's waiting to attack him. No, Mingki. No, Mingki. His back legs are shaking. His back legs are vibrating. He's coming around the circle on purpose. Stop. See, he's waiting right there. See the behavior? Okay, I guess you guys don't see him. Lincoln, stop. Lincoln, stop. Okay, so David's nervous now, right? So I'm going to put him over here because I'm protecting him. I'm just protecting him. See this? And I'm going to give him a hug. I know, silly boy. Right? So I've never done that to him before, so it's a different context of behavior. William, I've never done that before. I see this. So I'm going to come, Minki's coming back in again. You see this? William's now getting animated. Because David made a different sound. So he's angry now, right? Stop. Stop. So stop. Okay, give me a hug. You're okay. I got you. You're okay. So it's going to change his front paw position. You're okay, David. You're okay. You're okay. See the paw position change? Psychosomatic structure of cogency. I'm going to fix him up there. Right, there you go. His paw's on my front leg. You can't see. You're okay. You're okay, David. Tone of voice, hands resetting him. You're okay, David. No, Lincoln. You're okay, David. We're getting eaten alive here. You're okay. Hi, silly boy. Hi, silly boy. Protection. Protection. Right, so we see the behavior here. He's going to get angry again because Mingki's still stuck. Stop, Mingki. Stop, Mingki. David, stop. David, stop. Okay. So we see this behavior here. Oh, okay. Stop. 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 Mingki, no. You're okay. So only dropped him down just because I accidentally slipped. I will never make him sit. Up, David. Up, come on. Okay. I'm going to get Mingki inside. Wait, David. Stop. Mingki, come. Right? So now Minki's going to get... Okay. David. You're okay. So I'm going to calm David down again. You're okay. You can hear that, right, guys? So you watch his paw position change. It's the yawn here. Cognitive dissonance. Right? Cognitive dissipation. He's going to adjust his paw soon. Right? Oops, sorry. Holding him. Here he goes. As he there he goes. Processing codependent behavior, putting on the paw, on the foot. You're okay, David. You're okay. Readjustment. See that? Okay, so we're going to fix him here. You're okay, David. Remember, he's almost 200 pounds. Minki's right there. You're okay, David. You hear the breathing pattern? You can feel. You can hear him. You're okay, David. Hi, silly boy. You're okay. You're okay. Okay. So now we have an animation aspect of behavior here. So we're gonna. Okay. Mingki, stop. Right. So David's getting animated here. Stop, please. So I'm just gonna hold him back here. Right. So I'm gonna hold him back. Mingki is shaking like a leaf. Right. So I'm just gonna. Okay. Stop, please. So David's gonna walk it off on his own. No, Mingki. See how Mingki is looking at targeting for David? Mingki's targeting. See the tail behavior, the analytical structure? Tail behavior is indicative of a psychological processing of cognition and cogency structures relative to how the dog is conscious of the physiological expressions and experiences. So they're trying to analyze what's going on. Different positions relative to their ego-driven behavior. See that? Okay, Mingki. Come in, Mingki. So Mingki's going off. No. Enough. Thank you. So he thinks he's in trouble. Oh, hang a sec. Hang a sec. I don't usually put leashes on them or collars. Okay, don't give me a hug. There we go. Right, so we see the structure again. See him making an adjustment in his paw. I won't do anything. You're okay, David. Full breath right now. You're okay, David. You're okay. You're okay. You're okay. Hi, Mingki. Mingki's right there. You're okay, David. You're okay. Hi, silly boy. William's now bugging him. No, William. See, so David looks over there as well. See, he had moved his paw by himself. Hi, silly boy. You're okay. See the right paw? Psychosomatic expression. Lincoln, stop. You're okay, David. Good boy. Hi, silly boy. There you go. Right. There's Mingki. David, you're okay. Lincoln, okay, go inside, Lincoln. Okay, and Lincoln. Too much barking. Right? Thank you, Lincoln. Hi, David. Hi, silly boy. There's Mingki. Okay. All right, I'm going to go inside. Hi, Lincoln. Hi, David. Come on, David. Or Mingki. Okay, wait. Mingki, come, please. Come, Mingki. We're going to have Mingki coming out here. Hi, silly boy. There you go. Anybody have any questions about the simplicity of what just happened? All right. A hug. Literally what was happening in the beginning of the video where I'm talking about giving your dog a hug and making them feel safe. Literally just proved it. He's almost 200 pounds. Literally almost 200 pounds, 3 feet 2 inches. So I'm holding him with one hand. You know, not a lot of trainers, I don't think any trainer can do that because they don't deal with this level of behavior. David, you're okay. You're okay. I got you, silly boy. So then I'm giving him reset here as well. So we're going to get that part, put his paw by my foot on purpose. Directional aspect. I'm just trying to twist this around. Here we go. I'm changing it. Notice the tone of voice that I use is much different. The tone of voice I use right now outside, see there's adjustment right there, right? Cognition. Look at the back aspect of the gait. Good boy. Hi, silly boy. And there we go again. Right, this behavior. Proven. No treats, no medication. Extremely dangerous dogs working together. Right now, I talked about it in the beginning. Everyone goes, okay, well, let's see it happen. It'd be kind of cool. Showed it, that it happened. I also knew it was going to happen if I brought them out because then my animation and my behavior is much different. There's a dog barking in the back there. The animation. See, David, you're okay. He's going to come over to me naturally because he wants to feel safe. He doesn't know how to process the cogency. So watch this. He's using avoidance aspects. Give me a hug. Do you want a hug? Yes or no? David, so now he's trying to exhaust what's going on. So he goes off here on his own because I did not acknowledge for him what was happening. He'll circle back. There he is, circling back. So we got to see the behavior happening in real time. Comes back to me. Okay, stop, please. So that was his second excuse. That was my second opportunity to reset him. And if you can see his head, he's right here. Hi, little silly boy. So I'm going to just show you how he is. Okay, and he just actually moved his paws again as well. Hi, silly boy. You're okay. There you go, silly boy. So, when you make your dog feel safe, and that they're protected, and that they know that you're not going to hurt them or get them, get angry at them, and you're going to make them feel safe, and when they're the most scared, because even if he is 200 pounds, even if he has a significant history, even if he is angry, which he's not, he's feeling insecure. So what happened is I made him feel safe. I did not push the angry dog away. I did not push the scared child away and say, go ahead, deal with it, and turn that child into a bully, turn that dog into an aggressive dog that ends up being killed. All I did was, you're okay. I made you feel safe. Hi, David. David's pacing now. Okay, so he stopped. See the tail behavior like a cougar? Lincoln, no, I'm not letting you out. Lincoln can't get through the screen door. Hi, David. So you see how he's waiting? Now he's doing that for an engagement because he doesn't know how to process what's been going on. All right, so hang a sec here. We'll switch this out one more time and then I'm going to finish this off. Okay, David, hang on a second, right? So you can see that. That's David. You want a hug? Come on, silly boy. Hi, silly boy. Hello, silly boy. Hello, silly boy. So I'm going to hold up his weight and lay him down gently, right? Otherwise he's jumping around. Hello, silly boy. Lincoln, stop. Stop, Lincoln. Stop barking. Stop barking. He can get to the door. He just Lincoln's doing the needy thing on purpose. So then I go and direct him. Stop, Lincoln. Come on, Lincoln. Thank you. Right, so he's going all the energetic kind of stuff. Enough. Thank you. So Lincoln wants the attention. David is doing this on purpose. He wants the attention. So when I go over to Lincoln, he's going to stop. He's going to harass him a little bit, then he's going to stop. So then it's going to tell him to stop. Oh, it's right. I'm too high up. See? Yeah, see how Lincoln's coming over? Come on, Lincoln. Give me a hug. Give me a hug. I got you. David, it's Lincoln's turn. Thank you. David, stop. Lincoln. So Mingki came out now, so David's now scared even more. See this? Give me a hug. Right, give me a hug. So I'm just, then it's not Mingki's coming into Mingki's coming in. Lincoln, stop. Last warning. That's it. Just like you would say to a kid. Okay, Lincoln, go inside. Go, Lincoln. I was actually making snack for them when I decided to start recording. So they're waiting for me to. Oh, okay. There's like a billion. Okay, too many mosquitoes. Okay, we're gonna go inside. All right, I'm gonna take them inside. Anyways, so that's how you deal with the aspects. So you see aggression, all these behaviors. William, come in, please. So there's one. Okay, so William, come please. Come please. Thank you, silly boy. Because I asked him to do something, he completed the command. Go in, William. Right, there you go. Right, and this is for Sammy, right? Because Sammy doesn't have any back legs. So she has to walk on the carpet, otherwise she'll slip and fall. So it's all there. Which is actually really good because William out. William out. Out, William. William. So I'm going to teach him that outward. Come here, please. William. William, come. So that's regular tone of voice now. William, okay, out, please. Out, please. Thank you. So what that was, the word O-U-T that I did just now, is I'm teaching him the concept of the word. So then he understands the demarcation, the delineation. He understands the concept, abstract-wise, of what's happening. I just told him to go out. Okay, so then he understands. Okay, then he understands concept. Sorry, guys. Then he understands concept, right? The context and the concept. He understands. Whoa, okay. Out means an actual exit process. Again, that's how you can teach a dog can of tuna. If you ever watch that What About Bunny, the dog that they taught how to speak, that is like the dumbest, most stupidest trick I've ever seen. And I actually wrote the owner on TikTok about it, and she blocked me, deleted all my stuff, almost all my stuff, and then she I made why she's doing it wrong and all that. And I don't think she likes me. You know why? What's wrong with that? Actually, and I'm just going to finish off because I'm going to try to drag them in. So I'm going to change the tones a lot when I'm talking and bring them up and down so that the dogs are listening to what I'm saying, so that I create a curiosity. But okay, he's going out. Hang on a second. Okay, David, come. Okay, come in. In, please. Get in, please. Come on, let's go. Get in. Come on. Come, David. Mingki, come. There's like mosquitoes like crazy right now. Mingki, come, please. Thank you. He's walking in front of David right now. Thank you, Mingki. David, come in. In. So I had to actually drag him in here, so to speak, because David wanted to be the last one in, and then because he's used to the fact, because he's lowest on the chronological seniority totem pole, that he gets last. And whenever he's last, he gets a little bit more attention because, of course, a new dog has to feel some sort of aspects of codependency and interdependency to develop an ego-driven and familial construct, right? With a new home. It's got to be something there. And now Mingki's pacing David in the back here. Stop, Mingki. Because now we're inside. So there's got to be a bit more firm, because then the rules have to kind of start right off the bat. It's a reset hug, Jeanette. Oh, Jeanette, hi. It's a reset hug, right? So basically, like I said, you put the throat in the crook of your elbow, and then you do that where you have a solid aspect of behavior. You don't move your hands. Remember, if you keep your fingers open, etc., then what happens is you create overstimulation. And for some dogs, you can't give them overstimulation because they're paying attention to too many things, right? And if they're paying too many, right? Too many things are happening. So they have to be able to just process what's going on one little step at a time, keeping the hands that, and then you can make adjustments as you get more finessed. So that's where it goes. So yeah, so that's what has to happen all the time. So even here in a situation like that, I'm paying attention to everybody. David is rather large and quite powerful, as you can see. So I have to pay attention to him and then try to do a running dialogue with you guys and be able to only give you the points that you can actually see, not the points that are actually all there. Like all the universe, the abstract, absolute, the autonomous construct of everything. But so he's now pacing around. They're expecting their they're expecting their snack, because they call it the same language, right? So then they hear it contextual when they're listening to kids. So he's right here, David's right here, and Mingki's there. Okay, all right. Okay. If you have any questions or whatever, if you need any help or whichever, all this stuff is so easy to destructure, right? And I'm dealing with an extreme aspect of behaviors on all of them. So it's kind of like getting that core, and I'm able to just unpack, unlayer, brush it away like an artifact. So David just walked past him. Good boy, David, right? Hi, Mingki, Lincoln. Hi, silly boy, David. Oh, sorry, David. William, Sammy, right? So I'm going to say all the names so that they, again, hear acknowledgement. I'm not going to direct my conversation to just one dog and not other ones. Sammy, you're okay. Sammy. 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 Thank you, Sammy. Hi, silly girl. So we just throw it out that way, right? I'm trying to put it through my hand so you guys can see what I'm doing physically and respiratorily. So that way you can see what I'm doing. You can hear the inflection points that I'm speaking of that. Then you're determining the dog's voice key. Like Mingki, extremely dangerous dog, over 20,000 dogs rescued. I keep thinking I'm going to end this. Over 20,000 dogs rescued, born and raised in a meat dog farm in Korea, extremely cruel. He lived there for 1.5 years in a wire cage, like a mesh cage. They all do, and he eat putrid food, but anyhow, he couldn't be walked. He was attacking people. He couldn't be around anyone. Only one person could touch him, and that was it. And he couldn't even go outside. So he would always defecate indoors. He couldn't be around other dogs, etc. He's got integration here. You can see the behavior outside with him. It's predatorial. But that aspect is not because, so here's the explanation of the psychological profile that Mingki has. It's not because, and I'll just tell you this as well. Okay, I'll tell you afterwards. It is his inability to process beyond his neuro-emotional envelope. What happened is it cords down. Doesn't know how to process, doesn't have guidance, so then he goes not in the feral aspect of it. It's impossible for him to ever be feral in the sense that he still has human socialization, whether or not be very cruel and abusive. So he sees the interaction on a cross-species interpretation. Cogently, he structures himself. Okay, there's a different emotional structure beyond going just with the other dogs that are crammed in the cage with me for the next 1.5 years. So he has that structure. Okay, there is a interrelational aspect, whether or not we're actually physically interacting, or they're beating him or trying to strangle him or trying to boil other dogs alive in front of him, he's going to be structured going, there's that codependency. How do I process what's going on? I can't. Again, I talk about extrapolation. We take someone's information and we extrapolate the circumstances, and then we present to them a conflated process of the cogency of how the dog is processing. It's really quite straightforward in that part. You see that happening with all the dogs. Dangerous, no problem. It is the fact that for Mingki himself, without the experience, And he's a smart dog because he was able to survive. Again, cogency, charisma. David was able to survive. Walter was able to survive. Nero was able to survive. Nero's 10 years old when I adopted him. 140-pound Great Dane, was only 75 pounds, from Alabama. He lived 7 years chained up, 7 years for breeding outdoors, and then 3 years with a prong collar around him outdoors. He would rush fosters in Alabama, try to put them over the thing to kill them, and he grabbed the adult daughter, who's about 250 pounds, dragged her off the couch to kill her as well. And then they say, hey, do you want him? I'm like, yeah, just send him. That's it, just send him. He once grabbed me by the top of the head and nipped both sides at once. So then you have to pretend you're not scared, and it's really, really hard to do that. Getting back to Mingki though, so Mingki's structure is the fact that he's unable to process his environment, but he understands, he has cogency. So in that latent part of his behavior, he goes, something's wrong, but I don't know how to deal with it. And it's too much, and I don't know how to self-regulate or how to self-soothe. I can't process what's going on. So now I have to go, and it becomes cored in, right? Like, you know, caked in like concrete, so to speak. So what I do is, if you see the video, within the first 36 hours, I've done something what no one there in LA could do for 4 months with him. In 36 hours, I'm playing with him, I'm petting him, I'm touching him in areas where he's attacking people previously for just even being near his cubicle. So what happens is, then I start working with Mingki in different ways where I do tolerate some, of course I have to, and he's bitten me hard, but I address Mingki at that core aspect of behavior. So if he's really quite structured, kind of like the Rain Man character, Dustin Hoffman, Rain Man character, then I have to address structures of him and just really kind of start to add on a layer, not peel it up, but kind of add on a layer. So then what ends up happening is that core aspect of it, you know, how he's really entrenched. Like, we know old curmudgeon kind of old people, and they suddenly, right? So what happens is, with Mingki, doesn't have the ability to structure, and there's no way to get into the core. Absolutely impossible. So then I build his egocentric behavior, psychological behavior, blah, 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 blah. So then I build up his aspect of interrelation, because there's no way that I'm going to be able to get past it, because he doesn't have the experience, and it's so tight that he's going to attack me. And you see the videos where in the crate, he's flight crate covered in feces and all that stuff, and he's trying to attack me. So right after, I start talking to him in the tone. I start ranging my tone. I start ranging the tone to see where his body's behaving relative to what I'm saying. If you look at his eyes, they are quite predatorial. So then I look at the processing, and then I look for the cogency structures of how he blinks, eye behavior, all that kind of pattern, breathing pattern, how his physicality becomes structured, it becomes relaxed, what the movement structure is as well. Then you go, oh wow, this is really cool. Because now he goes, okay, someone's paying attention to me. Nonverbal communication. He has no socialized interaction whatsoever. Everybody in LA is afraid of him. No one's going to touch him. Only one person can. So then he goes, okay, somebody else is different. And all I do is I give him a complication of the emotion in a really gossamer aspect of application. And then he goes, okay, I'm going to try, because then he becomes familiar with it. That's why dogs are skittish, because they can't expand out of it. So then he goes, okay, I'm going to try it. So then we get him to kind of process, not through osmosis, but through deliberate confrontation relative in scale to how he's going to be able to accept it. I'm not going to go like that to him. I'm going to go like that to him. And then we work it in, right? You just edge it all in. You train him, right? No, it's like with a partner. You have to train, right? If you don't, then you're like, oh. So it's just that one step of it. Anyways, that's all I'm going to say. I'm totally done. Hope you guys enjoyed what I was talking about. Please share it if it helps and all that. I know it's a bit long. If you have any questions or whatever, if you need, down training, this is it. You understand how I understand the structure. You've seen me do it in proof in real life, real time, and I do video sessions, and I'm extremely accurate with that, obviously, because I'm, Mingki's doing all the crazy stuff. All right. Thank you, Sue. Thank you, people. And I'm going to end this off, and I might do this again.